I'm out. I'm out in the fields today. Out in the fields today, because it's better for my posture. It's better for my posture to be out on this chair than to sit on the car seat right now because of what I'm dealing with. But I'm happy to say there's been a decent improvement. I had a good night's sleep last night, and I've been going down the more kind of natural method of dealing with the pain and inflammation, and I have to say, surprise, surprise, it's actually working. Gonna turn this thing around. Oh, bollocks. I don't know what the quality. My hair's all sticking up like I was just sitting down not too long ago. Lying down a minute. So, I hope everyone's okay. Yeah, there's definitely been an improvement. I've been going down the natural method of dealing with the pain and inflammation, and I have to say, it's definitely working. So it's the nerves on this side of my neck are definitely not as inflamed as they were, and my eyesight has improved. So that's definitely, the inflammation is definitely gone, and the pain is about 60% of what it was. So, and I had a decent night's sleep last night. So far so good, and thanks to everybody for all your lovely messages of support and get well and all your kind words and everything, and your generosity. It was really sweet. It wasn't anything serious. It was just painful, and it's not like terminal or anything, but it's, when you're in pain and you can't do nothing about it, it's the worst feeling in the world. And so I'm definitely a lot better now, and hopefully this path that I'm going down without having, I'm not giving medical advice, so don't ask me what. They'll pull the video if I even remotely suggest anything like that. But so don't ask me what I did. But yeah, it's working for me now anyway. I haven't had to go down the painkillers path or anything like that yet. That's character building, isn't it? Like whoever said life is. That's one of the reasons why we have the situation we had in the last 3 years. Is people have this notion that life should never be about hardship and suffering, and life should always be easy and painless. And I think so much of the last, and the midges are getting me now, so much of the last few years have really been about that, having a terror of having a cold, put the world underneath totalitarianism. Well, that's human beings for you. Now, something happened this weekend that was very important, and I'm not going to lecture people on it, because I'm going to give advice, because I'm part of this as well in terms of what I'm talking about now, but I'm changing as well. Stephen Kenny, great guy, true Irish patriot, from the Irish Inquirer, busted, along with some other people, busted into, well, went into, I say busted into, but they went into the bioethics committee meeting at Trinity College in Dublin, where all the people behind the Rona measurement were there, including Dr. Luke O'Neill, the celebrity scientist who built a bizarre image for himself upon it by jumping around inside plastic balls, saying, "Now we can go see the flaming lips." But anyway, Stephen Kerr, to his credit, said right to their faces, you lot, regardless of all your education levels, you're all implicit in mass murder. Now, I was quite surprised he took it to that far. I probably would have said, the possibility of like negligent manslaughter would be probably as far as I would have taken it. But fair play to him, he went right into it. Of course, there was six of them on, six academics on the board, on the table, all with the catatonic look on their smirk, on their smile on their face. But they were not comfortable smiles; they were uncomfortable smiles, and it's changing. The pendulum is swinging back. Unfortunately, some clown from somewhere, made a video of it, putting up all what was a very powerful turning point in this whole situation. Made a video that was just mocked the whole thing, and actually shot our side in the foot. It was obviously made by some gobshite, and it was like it had like Batman cartoons with effect instead of pow and stuff on them, and a scene from the movie The Snapper. Oh Jesus! Red alert! Red alert! Yeah, it just totally belittled the incredible seriousness and the profundity of what was actually happening in that room when people who had been complicit in a psychological terror war against the Irish nation that destroyed our society and our economy and everything, and then trivialized it. It reminded me a lot of, you know, the other side used this stuff. You have to understand that. By making a joke of something serious, the other side they will use this stuff against us by taking it and saying, it's just funny. I'll give you an example, right? Neil Ferguson, the lockdown prophet, the guy in England who was behind so many elements of miscalculation and bad science using statistics, was he was during the lock. He was the guy who said we didn't think we could get away with it. Then because it was a Chinese government communist, and then we realized we could and locked them all down. Now this is a guy who, during the height of the lockdown, potentially could have infected, if it was real, could have infected his girlfriend and her kids while he went to visit her during the lockdown. Now I have no problem with anyone who broke curfew during the lockdown, but in his case, he was a hypocrite because he was demanding everyone else be locked down. Now the media got around that by calling him Professor Pantsdown, and immediately something that was so nauseatingly hypocritical and sickening and extremely serious was turned into a joke. So now it's happened on our side. We had Stephen Kerr and the Irish Inquiry people very powerfully ambush these the incompetent scientific buffoonery in this country, and then they've done a Professor Pants. Not them, but people that claim to be on our side have made joke videos about it, like, with clips from movies like The Snapper and, cartoons going feck and all this stuff. No, it's very serious. It doesn't need to be delivered in that style anymore. And I guess that's what this video is about. We've now passed the point of the jester, and we're now into the point of the warrior. The jokes were the jokes, and I was part of this as well. The jokes were fine when we were locked down and we were prisoners, and people needed hope and relief and something to keep them sane. I think that's what I attempted to do in my own simple and little way through my videos, was to try and get people to don't take it too seriously, relax, it's going to be okay, just hold on. What we have, we hold. That kind of thing. In the meantime, I was making jokes about it, so even though I took the whole thing very seriously, in order so people would not get upset, people would not get hurt, people would not, be driven to, like, despair over what was going on, thinking it was never going to end unless they took the transubstantiation of the sacred needlecraft. That time is over now. The time of jokes. I'm not saying memes and stuff. Well, memes can be good if they're serious, as well as satirical. Not just, but those times are over now. That childish humor has to end. We're now gone from Epicurean to Stoic. I think someone once said that all societies begin Stoic and end Epicurean, and we've gone through the Epicurean phase, and we now have to rebuild the society from the catastrophe that the globalists have left in the wake of the Rona carry on. So it's a very serious business now. I'm not saying, be completely like this about it, but I'm just saying here we are. We're at this point now where we can't be doing those joke videos going, oh Jesus, red alert, red alert. And in fact, I would distance yourself from that stuff. What Stephen did on Saturday was very strong and very powerful and very serious. And now we take off the jester's hat and we put on the battle helmet of the warrior. We now have to get them. They should not be allowed away with what they did. I'll tell you why. The stats coming in on the suicide levels, not only in this country but around the world since 2020, are off the scale. These were people who were murdered by government, civil servant, bureaucratic, corporate, and mass media psychological terror tactics and terror campaign that drove them to the depths of despair, thinking they would never get their lives back. It is time for justice to be called. It is time to remove the jester's hat and to put on the helmet of a warrior. It is time to put down the head on a stick and pick up the sword. It's justice. The sword of justice must now be unleashed. And I don't know how we're going to do it. It'll never be done in the courts. Remember, in Ireland we have this thing. They don't actually arrest corrupt politicians in Ireland. What they do is they have or even charge them. They have a thing called the tribunal, and the tribunal is a way for lawyers and civil servants and bureaucrats and media people to make tons of money in overtime, while a farcical sort of like anti-show trial takes place in Dublin Castle, and everyone walks home after having their expenses and fees paid, and there's no problem. If we had a real democratic system in Ireland and a proper functioning judiciary, they'd be taken to court and charged in the same way they charge people for not wearing a mask, or they charge people for not wearing and drag them into court and fine them for not wearing a TV license. But if you're a corrupt politician or who's involved in a big shady big business deal, well, you got a tribunal. Those days have to end now. Anyone who's happy with a tribunal over what happened because of the lockdown is an enemy of the state, as far as I'm concerned. Nothing less than a massive. I mean, they will be held accountable. They have to be. You cannot have. Look, for instance, a friend of mine in Germany was saying, I think it was in Württemberg, there's 120,000 more ambulance call-outs this year than the last year, and it's only June, remember. 120, and the highest number of ambulance call-outs in the history of the Landa, or whatever they call it. Are they called Landes in Germany? I think they are. Yeah, they're called cantons in Switzerland, Landes. And ambulances on the road here constantly. And what I find amazing is I see ambulances from the East Coast, like the Knights of Malta and the Knights of St. John, very Dublin kind of Presbyterian ambulance services. They're desperate for any ambulance they can get. They're constant. What's going to happen when the ambulance crews drop dead of exhaustion or drop dead of the transubstantiation of the sacred needlecraft? What happens then? They're literally dropping like flies now, and it's not a time for joking and laughing anymore. We're in a Nuremberg type situation here. It's beyond anything else. I saw Luke O'Neill is actually caught on camera the other day by the Irish Inquiry team, saying that he felt that masks for primary school children was counterproductive and psychologically damaging, and yet he's in the paper saying that they should wear them from last year. These people have to be held accountable. I go into restaurants now and cafes around Ireland and no one talks to anybody anymore because they've been taught not to communicate by wearing the face nappy. That our society has been fundamentally changed by psychological terror tactics wielded by academia and wielded by mass media, politicians, civil servants, bureaucrats, the lot. And have you noticed, do you remember all the ones who, when they got their first needlecraft or whatever, were so happy and joyous, posting pictures of their ID cards or the bandage on their arms or whatever? Have you noticed that's all stopped now? They've all gone very quiet because they're now consumed by a primal fear that if they go to bed tonight, they may not wake up in the morning. They may not openly agree with us. They may not, I gotta step, my back is hurt. They may not, what's the word? They may not go for a walk in the countryside. They may not be discussing things. They may not. Let me show you an artwork I'm working on. I've been working on this artwork for 10 years. This is an old field behind my place. I've been throwing out all these old appliances and letting them rust. My old washing machines, my old dryers and fridges, and I'm letting them rust here. I want to do something with them. I'm going to get on the angle grinder and I'm going to cut the metal out of them and build some kind of sculpture or something. But I'm a big aficionado of rust. Bright yellow, there's new rust. Dark brown is old rust. This is my new selfie stick. A chap borrowed my selfie stick that I had for years, and he broke it. If I fall and trip now and scream in agony on a video, you'll all see it. But yeah, so we're in a very serious situation now, a very sort of almost primal situation, and joking about it, you know, putting clips from the Snapper and TV shows like that on it is not the way forward. That was the past. Now we're in a serious place, and we need to be stoic warriors about it. We need to move in the undergrowth. Moving in the undergrowth. Look at this is my dog-eat rat cam. You give me house. You cook me. You don't cook pork. You give me house. You don't cook pork. These nettles are not wearing face masks. Take care. Love you all.